How many eggs should you eat per day at your age? The answer isn't one, and the research behind it explains why eggs support your brain, eyes, muscles, and heart as you get older. For more than half a century, the story you were told about eggs was wrong, completely wrong. The fear around cholesterol, the warnings about heart attacks, the strict advice to limit yourself to a single egg or avoid them altogether. All of it grew from research that sounded convincing at the time, but has since fallen apart under modern science, and yet the myth survived. Here's what almost no one explains to you: if you wake up already tired, even after a full night's sleep, if your energy dips hard in the middle of the afternoon, like someone pulled a plug, if your mind feels slower than it used to, words just out of reach, focus harder to hold. If your strength seems to fade year after year, no matter how much you try to stay active, there's a real possibility you've been unknowingly depriving your body of one of the most complete foods nature ever designed, simply because someone once told you it was dangerous. An egg is not just breakfast, it's closer to a biological toolkit wrapped in a shell. Inside is protein, in a form your muscles recognize instantly and know how to use. Inside is fuel for your brain that the majority of adults are quietly deficient in. Inside are compounds that defend your eyesight as the years pass, helping your vision hold steady in a world flooded with screens and artificial light. Eggs provide slow, steady energy that lasts for hours instead of the sharp rise and crash you get from sugary cereals and refined grains. They also contain vitamins people routinely spend hundreds of dollars each year trying to replace with pills. All of this comes packaged in something that often costs less than a cup of coffee, and yet millions still fear it. Many healthcare professionals still repeat warnings rooted in outdated studies. Even those who do eat eggs often discard the yolk, dumping most of the nutrition straight into the trash, just to avoid a risk that science now says was never truly there. Today, you're going to see the real number of eggs that left researchers stunned. You'll understand why the cholesterol advice drilled into generations was built on a backwards assumption. And you'll learn about one specific type of egg available right now that can deliver several times more vitamin D than the standard carton sitting in most refrigerators. The answer is not one egg per day. The truth is far more surprising. Have you been limiting eggs or avoiding them altogether? Leave a comment. It helps reveal just how deeply this myth still runs. But before we talk numbers, we need to dismantle the original mistake that created this fear in the first place. Because until you understand how the science was misinterpreted, it's hard to believe how different the conclusions are today. Number 1. The cholesterol catastrophe. Imagine the scientific climate of the 1960s. Researchers discover cholesterol inside clogged arteries. They also find cholesterol inside eggs. From there, a straight line is drawn between the two. If arteries contain cholesterol and eggs contain cholesterol, then eggs must cause heart disease. The conclusion spreads quickly. Headlines follow, guidelines change. The case seems closed, but it wasn't closed. It was incomplete. That single assumption echoed through medical advice for decades. Major health organizations drastically reduced recommended egg intake. Restaurants responded by marketing egg white omelets as the healthy option. Parents removed whole eggs from their children's plates. An entire generation grew up fearing one of the most nutritionally dense foods on the planet. What those early researchers failed to account for is something fundamental about human biology. Your liver produces the vast majority of the cholesterol circulating in your blood every single day. When you eat more cholesterol, your liver compensates by producing less. When you eat less, it produces more. This internal feedback system has been regulating cholesterol long before modern nutrition science existed. For most people, cholesterol from food barely changes blood cholesterol levels at all. This isn't speculation. Large-scale research confirms it. A massive 2020 analysis published in a leading medical journal reviewed dozens of studies and followed over 1 million individuals. The conclusion directly contradicted decades of fear. Eating one egg per day showed no meaningful increase in cardiovascular risk, but the real surprise came from even longer-term data. A major study published in 2018 tracked more than 500,000 adults over nearly 9 years. People who ate eggs daily did not experience worse outcomes. In fact, they showed a significantly lower risk of dying from heart disease and a notably reduced risk of certain types of stroke compared to those who rarely ate eggs. The food once blamed for heart problems appeared protective all along. Decades of misinformation led millions to miss out on powerful nutrition because early researchers connected dots that were never meant to be connected. That misunderstanding ends here. Number 2. What happens when eggs disappear from your diet? Most people know eggs contain protein. What's less obvious is how many systems quietly suffer when eggs are removed. The brain is often the first to feel it. One key nutrient stands out here: choline. Think of choline as structural material for your brain cells. A single egg supplies a meaningful amount, yet the majority of adults fail to meet recommended levels. Choline helps form the membranes that protect neurons and supports the production of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter essential for memory learning and focus. When intake falls short, mental clarity often follows. Brain fog becomes more frequent. Concentration fades faster than it used to. The very yolk people throw away happens to be one of the richest natural sources of this nutrient. If you often feel mentally sluggish later in the day, there may be more at play than stress or sleep. Your eyes are next. Eggs contain lutein and zeaxanthin antioxidants that accumulate in the retina and act like internal sunglasses. They help filter damaging blue light from screens and sunlight and are associated with protection against age-related vision decline. Every yolk discarded is a missed opportunity to support long-term eye health. Muscles also begin to pay the price. Eggs are rich in leucine, an amino acid that acts as a trigger for muscle protein synthesis. After midlife muscle loss accelerates naturally, 2 eggs can deliver a potent signal to maintain strength, often outperforming isolated protein supplements. Regularly skipping eggs makes preserving muscle mass harder than it needs to be. Energy regulation is another silent casualty. The combination of fats and nutrients in eggs digests slowly, helping stabilize blood sugar and provide sustained energy. This prevents the sharp spikes and crashes common with refined carbohydrates. Replace eggs with toast or cereal, and many people unknowingly board a daily blood sugar roller coaster that leaves them hunting for snacks. Hours later, eggs also supply vitamins like ADK2 and B12 in natural, highly absorbable forms. Many people attempt to replace these nutrients with supplements, not realizing eggs already provide them in balance. Number 3. The intake that changed everything. For years, official advice limited eggs to rare occasions. That guidance was built on fear, not evidence. Modern research tells a different story. Long-term population studies show that people who consume eggs regularly often experience equal or better cardiovascular outcomes than those who avoid them. Leading public health institutions now state clearly that for most healthy individuals, eating an egg daily is not associated with increased heart disease risk. What's still rarely emphasized is that 1 egg per day is not a hard ceiling. It's a conservative baseline. Multiple large studies suggest that 2 or even 3 eggs per day can fit comfortably into a healthy diet for many adults. Active individuals often benefit from higher intakes due to increased protein needs. Older adults may find that additional eggs help preserve muscle strength and independence. The most important shift is psychological. Eggs are not a food to fear or ration. They are a food to use intentionally. If this challenges what you've believed for years, engaging with the video helps spread updated information to others still caught in outdated advice. Number 4. The egg carton trap. Even people who eat eggs often make a mistake before they ever reach the stove. They assume all eggs are nutritionally identical. Crack open a conventional egg from a hen raised indoors on processed feed, and the yolk often appears pale and dull. Compare that to an egg from a hen that spent time outdoors eating insects, plants, and seeds. The yolk is deeper in color, often orange or red, signaling a very different nutrient profile. That color reflects higher levels of vitamin D, omega-3 fats, and antioxidant compounds. What a hen eats becomes what you eat. Labels can be confusing. Conventional eggs usually come from hens kept indoors with minimal sunlight. Cage-free often sounds better, but still typically means crowded indoor spaces. Free range offers limited outdoor access. Pasture-raised indicates regular time outdoors on natural forage, which dramatically improves nutritional content. When combined with organic feed, this represents the highest standard. While pasture-raised eggs cost more upfront, the nutrient density means the value per nutrient is often higher than cheaper options. Number 5. The yolk misconception. The egg white trend persists despite overwhelming evidence. When you remove the yolk, you discard nearly all of the egg's most valuable nutrients. Choline fat, soluble vitamins, eye protective antioxidants, and essential minerals all concentrate in the yolk. The white provides protein, but the yolk provides the system-level support. Avoiding yolks due to cholesterol fear is like removing the engine from a car and expecting it to function the same way. Once you understand how little dietary cholesterol affects blood levels, for most people, the fear quickly dissolves. Number 6, preparation matters. Cooking methods influence how much nutrition your body can actually use. Excessive heat degrades sensitive nutrients. Gentler methods preserve more value. Soft-boiled or lightly cooked eggs maintain yolk integrity. Low heat, cooking with stable fats like butter, ghee, or olive oil, minimizes oxidation. Scrambled eggs remain nutritious when cooked slowly and removed from heat before overcooking. Hard-boiled eggs are convenient and still beneficial, though slightly less optimal than runny preparations. Regular deep frying in unstable oils damages nutrients and creates compounds. The body struggles to manage number 7 individual considerations. While most people can enjoy eggs as part of a healthy diet, certain conditions warrant personalized guidance. Genetic cholesterol disorders, existing, heart disease or diabetes may require tailored recommendations. Eggs are rarely forbidden outright, but quantities may vary. This consultation with a healthcare professional is always appropriate when making significant dietary changes. Number 8, putting it all together. Eggs were never the villain. They became one through decades of misinterpreted science. The current evidence is clear. Eggs support brain health, protect vision, preserve muscle, and help stabilize energy throughout the day. For most healthy adults, 1 to 2 eggs daily fits comfortably within a balanced diet. Active individuals may benefit from more. Choosing higher quality eggs, eating the whole egg, and cooking gently completes the picture. That's the roadmap. So, how many eggs will you eat tomorrow morning? Share your number, and remember, eggs provide nearly complete nutrition in one simple food. But there's another ancient remedy that may enhance nutrient absorption and help calm inflammation throughout the body. It's been used for thousands of years, and modern research is finally catching up. Even when people finally accept that eggs aren't harmful, they still ask the wrong question. They ask, how many eggs are safe? When the real question should be, how does my age change what my body actually needs? Because the way a 25-year-old processes nutrition is not the same as a 45-year-old, and it's completely different from someone in their 60s or beyond. Eggs don't just fit into the diet differently as you age. They become more important. In your 20s and early 30s, your body is resilient. Muscle protein synthesis is efficient. Hormones are still working in your favor. Recovery happens quickly, even when nutrition isn't perfect. At this stage, eggs function as a performance enhancer more than a repair tool. 1 to 2 eggs per day help supply high-quality protein, B vitamins, and choline that support brain speed, reaction time, and energy production. This is the age when people often feel invincible and underestimate nutrition. But building habits now quietly determines how well your body holds up later. By your late 30s and 40s, something subtle begins to shift. Muscle mass starts declining at a slow but steady rate. Insulin sensitivity becomes less forgiving. Brain fog becomes more noticeable, especially under stress. This is where eggs stop being optional and start becoming strategic. 2 eggs per day can help counter muscle loss, stabilize blood sugar, and supply nutrients that support memory and focus. This is also the age when many people cut calories aggressively, unknowingly cutting nutrients at the same time. Eggs provide density without excess volume, which matters more than people realize. After the age of 50, the conversation changes entirely. Muscle loss accelerates sharply if protein intake isn't adequate. This isn't about appearance, it's about independence, balance, and long-term health. The amino acids in eggs, especially leucine, help signal the body to preserve muscle tissue. At this stage, 2 to 3 eggs per day can meaningfully support strength, reduce frailty risk, and help maintain metabolic health. This is why research consistently shows that older adults benefit from higher protein density, not lower. Brain health also becomes more fragile with age. Choline requirements increase as neural repair slows. Eggs remain one of the most efficient food sources to support this process. Memory lapses slower, recall and reduced concentration are often blamed on aging alone, but nutrient insufficiency quietly amplifies the problem. Regular egg consumption helps provide the raw materials the brain needs to function at its best for as long as possible. Vision follows a similar pattern. Decades of light exposure accumulate damage over time. Lutein and zeaxanthin from egg yolks accumulate in the retina and act as long-term defenders. This isn't about immediate results, it's about slowing decline over years. People who consistently eat eggs earlier in life often carry higher protective levels later on. Nutrition works like compound interest. The earlier you start, the greater the return. Now here's where many people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They focus on egg count but ignore the rest of the plate. Eggs don't work in isolation. Pairing eggs with refined carbohydrates creates blood sugar swings that mask their benefits. Pairing eggs with fiber vegetables and healthy fats amplifies their stabilizing effect. This is why people who eat eggs with vegetables report feeling full longer and experience fewer cravings throughout the day. Timing matters too. Eggs eaten in the morning support satiety hormones that regulate appetite for the rest of the day. Research shows that people who eat eggs for breakfast often consume fewer calories later, without consciously trying. This isn't willpower, it's hormonal signaling. Eggs tell your body it has received sufficient nutrition, reducing the urge to snack. Another overlooked factor is consistency. Eating eggs once or twice a week doesn't produce the same effect as regular intake. Nutrients like choline and fat-soluble vitamins accumulate and work best when supplied steadily. Think of eggs as daily maintenance rather than occasional medicine. Let's address a fear that still lingers for many people. What if eggs raise my cholesterol? The reality is that for most individuals, saturated fat intake, insulin resistance, and inflammation play a much larger role than dietary cholesterol. Eggs consumed in the context of a balanced diet rarely produce negative lipid changes. In many cases, HDL cholesterol improves, which is associated with better cardiovascular outcomes. There's also the myth that egg consumption should decrease with age. In reality, the opposite is often true. Aging bodies require more nutrient density, not less. Appetite frequently declines with age, making foods like eggs incredibly valuable. They deliver multiple essential nutrients in a small, easy-to-eat package. This is why populations that traditionally consumed eggs regularly often maintained strength and function later into life. The problem was never eggs, the problem was misunderstanding how nutrition interacts with aging biology. If you're wondering whether this applies to you, here's a simple reflection. Do you recover more slowly than you used to? Do you feel weaker despite eating normally? Does your energy dip earlier in the day? These are often signs of protein and micronutrient insufficiency, not just aging. Eggs address both at once, and here's the final piece most discussions leave out. Nutrition doesn't fail overnight, it fails quietly over years. Deficiencies don't announce themselves dramatically. They show up as slower mornings, heavier fatigue, weaker grip, strength, fuzzier thinking. Eggs help fill gaps before those symptoms become permanent. So when you ask how many eggs per day is right, the real answer depends on your age, activity level, and health status. Younger adults may thrive on 1 to 2, middle-aged adults often benefit from 2. Older adults frequently do best with 2 to 3. The goal isn't a rigid number. It's meeting your body where it is now, not where it used to be. The mistake isn't eating too many eggs. The mistake is under-fueling a body that's trying to age well. If this changed how you think, eggs cause inflammation. Eggs spike blood sugar. Eggs are dangerous if you have diabetes. Eggs harden your arteries. These claims sound scientific. They feel convincing, and yet when you slow down and examine the data behind them, they collapse just as dramatically as the cholesterol myth did decades ago. Inflammation is the first accusation people throw around. The irony is that eggs contain compounds that actively reduce inflammatory signaling in the body. The phospholipids in egg yolks help regulate immune responses. The antioxidants lutein and zeaxanthin don't just protect your eyes, they also reduce oxidative stress system-wide. When eggs are eaten as part of a whole food diet, inflammatory markers often stay the same or improve. The problem isn't the egg, it's what people eat with it. Blood sugar is next. This one is easier to understand. Eggs contain virtually no carbohydrates. That means they do not spike glucose on their own. In fact, adding eggs to a meal can slow digestion and blunt the blood sugar rise from other foods. This is why people who eat eggs for breakfast often feel steady for hours, while those who eat cereal feel hungry again before lunch. Eggs stabilize. They don't spike diabetes. Concerns come from observational data that failed to account for lifestyle context. High egg consumption occurred alongside smoking processed meat intake and poor dietary patterns. When researchers isolate eggs from those variables, the risk disappears. In some cases, insulin sensitivity improves due to higher protein intake and better satiety control. Eggs don't worsen metabolic health. Poor dietary patterns do. Then there's the fear of aging faster because of eggs. This myth usually comes from confusion around oxidation. Yes, overheating fats can create oxidized compounds. That's why cooking method matters. Eggs cooked gently do not accelerate aging. In fact, the nutrients in eggs support cellular repair. Aging isn't driven by cholesterol intake. It's driven by chronic inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, and metabolic stress. Eggs help reduce all three when used correctly. Another question people quietly worry about is weight gain. Eggs are calorie dense compared to some foods, but calorie density doesn't automatically cause fat gain. Satiety matters more. Eggs reduce hunger later in the day. They lower impulsive snacking. They support lean mass, which raises metabolic rate. People who eat eggs regularly often find weight control easier, not harder. This leads to an important realization. Eggs aren't a diet food. They're a foundation food. They don't promise quick fixes. They support systems slowly and consistently. And that's exactly what aging bodies need. Let's talk briefly about frequency, because many people still think eggs should be cycled or limited. There's no strong evidence that healthy individuals need breaks from eggs. In populations studied over many years, daily consumption shows no pattern of harm. Consistency is what allows nutrient levels to stabilize. Sporadic intake produces sporadic benefits. What about children and teenagers? This is another overlooked group. Growing brains and bodies demand choline protein and fat-soluble vitamins. Eggs provide all three in a form kids can digest easily. Fear-based restrictions early in life can quietly create deficiencies that show up years later as learning difficulties or poor muscle development. Eggs support growth, they don't hinder it. At the opposite end of life, eggs become even more valuable. For older adults with reduced appetite, chewing difficulty, or limited food variety, eggs offer nutrition without overwhelm. 1 or 2 eggs can deliver more usable nutrients than a large plate of low-density foods. This is why geriatric nutrition guidelines increasingly emphasize protein density rather than calorie restriction. There's also the psychological component. Eggs are familiar. Comfort matters in nutrition. Foods people enjoy are foods they actually eat consistently. Eggs fit into countless cultures, cuisines, and tradition. That adaptability makes them sustainable, long-term, which is the real goal of any dietary choice. So when you zoom out and look at the full picture, the pattern becomes clear. Eggs were never the villain. They were caught in the crossfire of misunderstood science and oversimplified advice. As research matured, the story corrected itself, but public perception lagged behind. And here's the most important takeaway of all. Nutrition isn't about fear, it's about alignment. aligning what you eat with what your body actually needs at your current stage of life. Eggs align remarkably well across decades of aging when consumed thoughtfully. If you've avoided eggs for years, there's no need to rush or overcorrect. Start where you're comfortable. Pay attention to how you feel. Energy focus, strength, and satiety tell you more than headlines ever will. The question is no longer whether eggs belong in a healthy diet. The question is whether outdated fear should continue deciding what ends up on your plate. And now I want to hear from you. How many eggs do you currently eat per day, and how old are you? The patterns in the comments always reveal something fascinating. Read through them, you'll see how differently bodies respond at different stages of life.